Hello, Elgin, and welcome to Lalley in the Valley. I'm Chief Anna Lalley, and I'm joined by crime analyst Ryan Drake. Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. So it's been a little bit of time since you guys have seen us. So for all our fans out there who watch us, we are back, and so the information that we're going to provide today is for the months of April, May, June, and July. So 4 months of data, and we're going to talk a little bit in detail about what's been happening. If you're just joining us, and if this is your first time watching Lalley in the Valley, the purpose of the show is just to really give this information out to the community in a timely fashion. You can always find our monthly crime stats located on our transparency site, which are updated every month. That way, if you want to know what's happening in real time, that is available to you. So I'm going to jump right in, I think, with some pretty good news. So our gunfire incidents, year to date, so we are at year to date 17 incidents compared to last year at this time we were at 44 incidents.
Right.
So that is a 61% decrease, and I noticed that up here too, you said this is the second fewest numbers of shots fired incidents since 2013.
Right. In 2013, our lowest number was in 2019 year to date with 14, so we're just above that by a few here.
Yeah, so I think, last year we ended with 65 incidents, and hopefully if we stay on this track here, we're probably going to be at one of the lowest years that the police department has ever seen. So thank you to the community for, for calling in information, for working with us, for being engaged. Thank you to the officers. This is a lot of work and dedication for all the members of the police department, our programs that we have in place, whether it's our youth empowerment program, some of the enforcement efforts that we do. So I think this is just really, when all of these things come together. And again, sometimes we're here talking about how shots fired, it's up, and here we are today where it's a substantial decrease. So that's some really good news for the Elgin community. So overall, our NIBRS information, and again, Group A, those are the most severe crimes, and so those are the ones that we usually kind of focused on. And then Group B are those lesser offenses. So for the year, we are at 2,548 Group A offenses, and again, that's an 8% decrease from where we were at this time last year. And then for our Group B offenses, we're at a 4% decrease. So again, numbers are looking really good, and I think, Ryan, you're going to give a little detail into, what are the actual categories that we're seeing, where those numbers are decreasing.
Sure, absolutely. Now, one of the things that I like to do when I'm looking at crime stats is look at long-term trends. So when we're looking at our Group A long-term trends, we generally see where crime has decreased since 2013 all the way through the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. At that point, it greatly dropped from about 2,500 down to 2,000 crimes year to date. And then it started to rebound as the pandemic became less severe. And it peaked in 2024 with 2,700 crimes year to date, but now we're back down, similar to where we left off pre-pandemic.
Yeah, and I think it's important that the years, 2020 and 2021, those are those outliers there, because there's really nothing that you can compare those numbers to, because we've never had a global pandemic. So right. I think it's interesting to kind of, what was happening before and what was happening after, and I think that's the better gauge of what these long-term trends look like in our community.
Absolutely. So now we can actually look at some of these offenses in a little bit more detail, especially the ones that we're seeing more of a trend or greater increases or decreases in. First one of which is our assaults cases. So this is inclusive of simple assaults, aggravated assaults, and intimidation. So this year, so the three of those categories summed up, we are at 982, which is a 9% decrease from where we were last year with 1,080. These make up most of our Group A offenses, 38.5% so far this year. And what we're seeing here is, again, a little bit of that discrepancy with the COVID pandemic. Our median assault rate was 882 at this point of the year, between 2013 and 2020, and then it dropped 15% during those COVID years when the crime rates dropped. And then after that, it bounced up to a median of about 1,000, where we're kind of sitting at again today. So we see a net increase in assaults after the pandemic compared to where we were before. That's about a 13% increase.
And these assault and batteries include domestic batteries?
Correct. So now we can break those apart even more, and we can see that roughly 3 out of 4 victims knew their offender. And then if we look at it whether or not they're domestic or not domestic, it's roughly 50-50. Just under half of all of assaults are domestic.
And I think that's an interesting fact that the community knows, that the victim knew the suspect in 74% of these cases where there's this victim-offender relationship. And that's, where, again, thinking about how does the police department affect that type of crime. And so I think it's important that people know that we do have a social services unit here. The ability to contact us, and we have social workers who can do a little bit of, especially if there's a situation where, maybe you want to reach out for help, but you're not necessarily sure what to ask for. October is Domestic Violence Month, right? Awareness Month. So as we make our way to October, I know that we talk a lot about those crimes and what it looks like. So, for the community, if you need any assistance, please contact us, and we're more than happy to direct you to the right resource.
Some other long-term trends that we're seeing are a long-term decrease in our crimes against property. These include burglaries, thefts, robberies, vandalisms. These are crimes in where the property is what is targeted by the offender, typically to steal something or to damage something. We are sitting at 1,222 crimes this year to date, compared to 1,340 last year, and that's again a 9% decrease.
And again, seeing that long-term downward trend, and and that's an important thing of why we have this show. It's to talk about what are the trends that we're seeing, but then also what is the response by the department, and what are the things that we're doing. So I know at one point, we had "If you like it, lock it and put it into your pocket" campaign, and we noticed that a high percentage of our vehicle thefts were from unlocked vehicles or vehicles that left their keys in the car. So that kind of constant information to the community, absolutely. I think eventually, even though it's a catchy phrase and people might think, well, that's interesting, it definitely has an impact. So yep.
And speaking of like it, lock it, put it in your pocket, the next trend that we want to talk about is motor vehicle theft. So we are sitting at 56 thefts or attempted thefts this year, down from 68 last year. That's 18% decrease. However, even though it's down this year compared to last year, it's still on track for a long-term increase. It's going into a historically high period, and we're expected to see more of these thefts as the year goes on. A lot of these thefts do not have evidence of forced entry. So again, we go back to that phrase, "If you like it, lock it, put it in your pocket," because a lot of these people, they're checking car doors. They're trying to open it, see if it's unlocked. And if they can get in, they know how to reprogram or hotwire cars, and they're fast with it. They can reprogram a car within a minute.
And as we come into the winter months, we will be back in October, so we can remind people again. But definitely that's something where, having the ability to get this information out before winter when people do traditionally leave their keys in the car.
Another crime category that we're seeing a change in is shoplifting. We're seeing a 9% increase this year to date. However, this historically shares a similar pattern with things like assaults, where we see a decrease during the COVID years, from a 93 annual median down to 47 year to date. That's a 49% drop in retail theft during that period. But then post-COVID, it shoots back up to 113, so we're higher than where we were pre-pandemic.
Yeah, and with shoplifting, there's obviously, things that we can do as an agency, to ensure, working with our retailers, and we do and are able, for the most part, if you think about these type of crimes 20 years ago, a lack of video evidence, a lack of security measures. So, these, and it's interesting when you look at, the years of the pandemic, and it's a very simple answer because the stores are closed. So, that's that correlation with what might be happening in society and things that are outside the purview of the police department, but definitely has an impact, whether that's positive or negative.
And our last category that we want to take a look at are weapon law violations. These violations occur whenever someone possesses or handles a weapon unlawfully. And what should stand out here is from 2020 through 2024, we had an elevated number of weapon law violations. Before that period, we had a median of about 26 year to date. Between 2020 and 2024, that number doubled to a median of 52. But good news is that they're down this year, so they're similar to where we were prior to this elevated period.
Yeah.
So some good news
So
there.
good news for the community, absolutely. And again, this is the work of the officers, the work of the community, I think all, coming together and, whether it's our programs, our enforcement, whether it's the relationships that we have with people where we get information, then we're able to do something. I think this is, and again, we could be here in October with these numbers high or they're low, but I think it's definitely something to, to make mention of that. This is one of, the lowest years in the past 5 years, and so hopefully we continue on that trend.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think that kind of summarizes everything for some highlights for the Group A offenses. So thank you, Ryan. I think, adding the slides is a little bit of where people can visually see the things that you and I are talking about. So anything else that you would wish to mention?
I think that's about it.
All right, so Elgin, we will be back in October. And October will be the last one for this year. And then we come back in January to talk about everything 2025. End of year crime stats. So we'll be back in October, and until then, please stay safe, stay engaged, and stay connected, and we'll see you next time.
Hola Elgin, estoy de regreso para dar el resumen de la jefa de policía, lo que acaba de decir de las estadísticas del crimen, y estoy aquí con Ryan. Ryan, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien, gracias.
Ok, vamos a empezar. Vamos a cubrir lo que ha pasado en el crimen desde lo que va de hasta julio, con las estadísticas y comparando un poquito con el año pasado, lo que nos dejó el año. Vamos a comenzar. Tenemos aquí también la televisión para que pueda ver y ver un tipo visual para que entienda un poquito mejor. Vamos a hablar sobre los tiroteos. Eso es el arma de fuego, los disparos. El año pasado tuvimos 44 a la que es la fecha de hoy. En este año llevamos 17 y esperemos que se quede así. Al terminar el año terminamos con 65, que fueron los disparos de arma de fuego, y otra vez esperemos que ese número se reduzca y que sea menos. Así es que hay una disminución del 61% comparado con el año antepasado. También vamos a resumir las ofensas en el grupo A, que son las más graves. Hay una disminución del 8%, lo que significa es de que el año pasado hubo 1,644 incidentes del grupo A, y en este año, de lo que va del año, hay 1,582 incidentes. Le voy a preguntar a Ryan, porque él tiene más información de que por qué hay la disminución de más incidentes comparado con el año pasado. Can you tell us a little bit why is it the decrease on these calls? Or the type A offenses?
So we saw a long-term decrease in our Group A's between the periods of 2013 and 2020. At that point, we saw a decrease during the COVID pandemic, which then rose until it peaked in 2024, and now it's dropped back down to where we were around 2019, just before the pandemic started.
Okay. Lo que dice es de que mucho se debe a la pandemia del COVID-19. Esos años, obviamente, el crimen bajó bastante por la situación del COVID-19. Y como pueden ver en las barras de atrás, los números están incrementando un poquito más al número que por lo general estamos, es el mediano, el número entre los 2,500 a 2,700. Pero esperemos que ahí nos quedemos y no subamos a una cifra grande como ven en el 2013. Así es que hay que mantenernos allí, y todo eso se debe a la ayuda de ustedes, la comunidad, por avisarnos en obviamente los crímenes, por llamar, igualmente con los disparos. Mucho se lo agradecemos a la comunidad de trabajar con la policía para combatir el crimen. La otra categoría del grupo A, que son las agresión. La agresión, lo que decía Ryan y la jefa de policía, es de que la agresión del grupo A está arriba, y la razón por qué es porque hay mucha agresión sobre, por ejemplo, violencia doméstica. Violencia doméstica pasa cuando las personas son conocidas y entonces tienen una agresión en la casa o un tipo de violencia doméstica en la relación. Pero como todo, siempre ofrecemos nosotros también recursos en la policía. Tenemos a los trabajadores sociales, que si la policía responde, por ejemplo, a una violencia doméstica, hay recursos en la policía que cualquier persona de la comunidad nos puede llamar, y nosotros lo recomendamos con el grupo de trabajadores sociales para que tengan ayuda, para que tengan recursos y cómo mediar con las agresiones que están pasando en la familia. ¿Qué temas tenemos? Tenemos, obviamente, vamos a comparar otra vez en lo que es de la pandemia en 2021 y 2022. Hubo también una disminución del 15%, y otra vez se debía a la pandemia. Y como pueden ver, en el 2023, 24, 25, estamos otra vez en los miles, que es las llamadas, más o menos el promedio de los 3 años entre 1000. Ojalá que, como les decía de la anterior, ojalá que se quede allí, que no suba más, y todo eso es trabajando juntos con la comunidad, trabajando con los recursos que tenemos en la estación de policía, y obviamente a las personas que tomen uso de esos recursos que tenemos. Can you explain a little bit to me about?
Sure, because we can look deeper into these assault offenses, and we can see whether or not the victims knew their offenders and what was like the relationship between them. And we see that 3 out of 4 victims knew their offenders beforehand, and then overall, almost half of all these assaults are domestic.
Bueno, es como yo les decía hace un minuto, de que el círculo representa la agresión, ¿verdad? Y dice que en muchos de estos incidentes la persona conoce al agresor. O sea que se quiere decir que son problemas de violencia doméstica, problemas de casa, de relación, novia, novio, esposa, esposo. Así es que 3 de 4 personas conocían al agresor en cuestión de la agresión. Así es que otra vez tenemos recursos en la policía, que viene siendo los trabajadores sociales. Si necesitan recursos, por favor llámenos y nosotros los contactamos con ellos. Delitos contra la propiedad es otra cosa. No sé si se acuerdan, en los años pasados teníamos una campaña que era: si te gusta, laquealo y ponte la llave en tu bolsa. Esa es una campaña que teníamos porque había mucho robo de vehículos. Así es que obviamente vamos a hablar un poquito cuando nos acercamos más en el invierno, de que las personas van y prenden su carro y lo dejan allí. Pero en cuestión de delitos contra la propiedad, lo que los agresores o los sospechosos ven fácil, si ven un carro deslaqueado, si ven propiedad personal, dinero en un carro, obviamente los va a motivar a cometer ese crimen. Así es que ayudemos a no dejar nada de importancia en los carros, para que así no pase este delito. Robo de vehículos motorizados, años de alzas y bajas que hemos tenido. Obviamente otra vez nos regresamos al 2021. Durante la pandemia los números estaban bajos. Cuando pasó la pandemia empezaron los números otra vez a subir poquito. Todo eso la comunidad podemos ayudar. Mantenga sus vehículos cerrados con llave. Incluso si se asusta por un momento, los ladrones son rápidos. Ellos pueden reprogramar un carro y robárselo. Ellos tienen forma de programar las llaves, que son inalámbricas. Así es que hay que asegurar los carros y ponerse la llave en el bolsillo. Robo en tiendas, ¿verdad? Lo que significa las personas, por ejemplo, que entran a robar a las gasolinerías, a tiendas como, por ejemplo, la Walmart, Target, todas esas tiendas que son robos, que personas entran y agarran algo sin pagar. Damos un promedio que bajó en la pandemia también, en el 2021-22 bajó, negativo 44, pero ahora subió 22%. ¿Por qué? Porque obviamente hay más gente en las calles, hay más gente en las tiendas, y por eso es de que la intención de las personas de robar sube con la presencia de más personas que están afuera. Y violaciones por armas, tenemos una posesión o manejo de armas ilegales. Ese también se puede ver que en los números de los años del 2020 al 2024 estaba más o menos en un promedio entre 40 a 50. En el 2023 subió a 60 los incidentes, pero vemos una disminución muy buena del 33 casos en el 2025. Así es que los números típicos se duplicaron entre el 20 y 24, pero en el 2025 bajaron a 33 y hay que mantenerlos ahí. Is that it?
That's it.
Eso fue todo. Manténgase al tanto para otra edición más. Nos vamos a ver aquí en octubre para dar la información sobre lo que resta del año, las estadísticas del crimen. En octubre le daremos más información y hasta octubre nos vemos. Así es que mientras tanto, siga nuestra página de Facebook, siga nuestra página de transparencia en línea, donde puede ver los crímenes que están pasando cada mes. Y es todo, Elgin. ¿Es todo?
Es todo.
Okay, gracias, Elgin.